If you've ever thought that six figures is just too much to go to an NBA Finals game, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook as we start off a new week. It was a great weekend, and I hope you all had a great weekend, but we have some news going on. We have potential Iranian conflict ending with Israel as of this morning. We have Marvell joining the S&P. So that, after Friday's bloodbath, is trading back up. Will we get a rebound here today, or will there be more red arrows? We're going to talk about that. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. Excited to do another week with the crew. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Monday edition for June 8th, 2026, starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful weekend. Great to welcome you back here. It is a Monday, and it is not without news. So the market is waiting for us, and we are going to tackle it. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here. Peter is first here today. Good morning, Peter. Welcome back. Happy Monday, brother. It's great to see a crispy biscuit. Likewise, good morning, Francis. Good morning, Solitary Soldier. Good morning. Free Diddy tomorrow. Good morning. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good morning, and good morning to the Benzie gang. I love it, Zach, and I love that you keep saying it. Derek, it's great to see you again. Welcome back, buddy. Whisk, good morning. Welcome back. Jim, good morning. Welcome back. Opportunities today for more or for some downside? Jim, I'm going to say we could have both here today. I suspect that we are probably going to have a bounce back riding the coattails of some of the news that we have here today, but you and I both know news drops, news bombs, they can happen at any time. I don't want to count any of that out. Producer, welcome back. You're the best, man. Thanks for helping the show go on. We couldn't do it without you. Pachi, good afternoon from Belgium. Welcome back, Pachi. It's great to see you. Reaching Financial Freedom, good morning. Welcome back. Acorns, good morning. Welcome back. Acorn says we're going to have a pop and then a drop day. Honestly, Acorns, that is not a bad prediction. I could absolutely see that happening after the sell-off that we got there on Friday. Sunil, good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Friday was an ouch day. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Ouch days are part of the job that we chose here. So we're going to deal with them. It's great to see some green arrows here in this morning. Yassine, good morning. Welcome back. Those storms were crazy last night. Yeah, so if you're in the Chicagoland area, there were some pretty crazy storms last night. That should be good for the roofing business, though, right, Yassine? You'll have to let me know on that. It looks like the rain has kind of moved out of here, at least this morning. But overnight, yeah, it was pouring. Thank God I got my golf round in yesterday. Kelly, good morning. Welcome back. Hope everyone is well. I am well. I hope you are well. Welcome back. Yassine says, sell the pop. Okay. Yassine, you're looking to sell into today's move. Good stuff. Carlos mentioning Nelly Corda's winning putt. Yo, Nelly Corda, 2 majors in a row. That girl can play some golf. Holy smokes. Holy smokes, is she good. Sergeant Sexy says, go Spurs, go. Actually, Sergeant Sexy, I'm on your team here today. I want to see this series go as long as possible so it can be half as good as the NHL series that's going on right now. So hopefully the Spurs are able to get a win today. But in the Garden, that kind of energy, man, that's like ice skating uphill, it seems. Cam, good morning. Welcome back. Florida Yacht Insurance guy, good morning. Welcome back. The airboat. On the airboat all day, come down for a ride. Boy, if I had a teleporter or a PJ and I could get down to Florida, I would absolutely take you up on that, but I don't. So we're going to stay in Illinois, it seems. Maverick, good morning. Dara, good morning. JJ, good morning. Robot to Trade, good morning. Bob, good morning. King Ryan and team. No kings, man. No kings. Not here. Dirkus, good morning. Welcome back. Dara. Ryan's looking fresh. Producer suggested that I wear the white shirt with the Benzinga logo. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? It looks fresh and crispy. Producer, you're making a lot of good calls, it seems. You're making a lot of them. Gen Z Pool Guy, good morning. Welcome back. Luis, good morning. Welcome back. Richard, good morning. Welcome back. C Spot, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, thanks for rescheduling to today. We'll meet as soon as the show's over here. HP Darkside Hemi, good morning. Azelaf, good morning. Tyler, good morning. Linda, good morning. All right. All right. Sobra good morning. Welcome back. Marionette, great to see you. Welcome back, Marionette. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Knapp, good morning. Welcome back. And Neville, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Lance, good morning. Vega Bees, good morning. And Astro Kev, good morning. It sounds like we've got the entire crew here on the early join. So I will take that. Let's go ahead and just get rolling with our stock market today. All right, futures in the green here ahead of Monday's open. And of course, that follows Friday, rather bloody day and close here. And actually this morning, the futures have continued to move to the upside. So definitely getting some rebound green arrows here today. S&P futures up 0.68%. The Dow futures are up 0.25%, 0.25%. And the NASDAQ futures leading the way higher at 1.26%. So we'll see if those green arrows hold here into the open. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what's going on over the weekend here. Sectors in the S&P 500 closed mixed on Friday as consumer staples, utilities, real estate, healthcare, and financials rose, while IT, consumer discretionary, materials, energy, communication services, and industrials all fell. U.S. stock futures were mixed on Monday, although they've all gone into the green now. As the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 gained, the Dow fell, but has since turned green. Over the weekend, the tensions in the Middle East escalated as President Trump said he would press Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to escalate tensions with Iran, but Iran and Israel have since exchanged strikes. The latest flare-up comes as U.S.-Iran negotiations continuing over ending months of conflict. Iran has insisted that any broader agreement must include a durable ceasefire in Lebanon, where fighting between Israel and Hezbollah has continued despite diplomatic efforts. Additionally, this week, investors will be eyeing May's CPI and PPI data. Oh yeah, the SpaceX IPO too. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.58%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.19%. CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show that the markets are pricing in a 98% likelihood of the Federal Reserve leaving the current interest rates unchanged during the June meeting. Now, we've got several stocks in focus here for you today ahead of Monday's open. The first one is going to be Riskified, and the ticker is RSKD. It was 1.26% higher in the pre-market on Monday after it disclosed a $75 million buyback plan. The next stock on our list is going to be Nebius Group, and the ticker is NBIS. That was 2.11% higher after it announced a 2.3 billion or 1.7 billion euro investment to build out 4 AI data center sites in the UK. The next stock on our list here is going to be Ingredion. The ticker is INGR, and it was 1.95% higher as Tate & Lyle agreed to a $2.7 billion euro or $3.6 billion USD takeover by INGR. The next stock on our list is going to be AMD, or Advanced Micro Devices. It was 1.81% higher as it announced a £2 billion or 2 billion euro or a 2.66 billion investment in the UK to enhance AI research, infrastructure, and workforce development over 5 years. The last stock on our list is going to be SK Telecom. The ticker is SKM, and it gained 4.78% as it joined forces with NVIDIA, or ticker NVDA, to build Korea's gigawatt-scale AI cloud sovereign enterprise and physical AI workloads. All right, let's get back to pro here. Let's get the chart. Let's take a look and see where we are at. Boom. Here we go. So we talked last week about perhaps the 20-day and perhaps 750 providing some support for the SPY. Given the bloodiness of Friday, we went through both of those fairly easily. Now today, that actually sets us up for a potential recapture of both, depending on how good today is. The 20-day moving average is currently sitting at 745.46. And the price right here is at 743. So 745 and a half. If we can recapture that first here, that would be great. That would be the 20-day. And then we'll see if 750 ends up getting captured. That's basically at the start of where this candle really started to plunge. I think we were actually in 751. So we'll see. 745 and a half, 750. Those are going to be our upside spots. If we actually turn around here, the first two spots to look at, we want to look at the lows. That's going to be 736. Then I would say 732. So 736, 732, probably our two downside possible support levels. We'll see if we end up getting those here. But this is what the SPY looks like. And I'll tell you something else. If we trade sideways at all here, or maybe don't even like fully recapture the candle from Friday, that actually wouldn't be terrible either. Even if we just kind of move sideways here, that would actually give some time for some of these other moving averages to maybe slowly move up and then maybe also provide some support in case we do fall again. But this is what I'm looking at here on the SPY for today. Let's take a look at some insights from analysts and see what they have for us today. We'll start here with Ryan Dietrich. A historic 2-month surge in the S&P 500 has triggered a rare, historically flawless bullish signal, pointing to massive year-ahead gains. The S&P 500 recently logged an explosive 19.5% advance over 2 months. And that's according to Carson's group, Ryan Dietrich. He goes on to say this is, quote, one of the best 2-month rallies ever, end quote. Data shows this has only happened 7 other times since 1950, and stocks were, quote, never lower 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, or a year later, end quote. Instead, they averaged a massive 40% gain a year later, and looking at the data, Dietrich noted, my oh my. That's a quote. Though the S&P 500 just fell 2.6% for its, quote, worst day of the year so far, end quote, Dietrich urges, quote, good times to remember that even the best years have a bad day or two, end quote. And he posted that noting that 22 times the index has gained 20% in a year. The average worst day was 3.5%. Now, market health remains resilient. Even with a 2.5% weekly drop, 6 sectors were green, and more stocks on the S&P 500 gained than fell last week. History proves temporary volatility rarely details historic bull runs. In 1997, the index fell nearly 7% in a day, but still gained more than 30% on the year. So we'll see what we end up getting here. How many of you think that, maybe a pullback or two here or a bad day or two here, but you know what? We're actually going to have a great rest of the year. And then maybe even into next year, we'll see what AI can do to help us with that. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention this during the open. The Worldwide Developers Conference for Apple starts today and runs through the 12th. So today's June 8th. I believe the 12th here is going to be Friday. So it runs all week. Don't forget, not long ago, we heard comments from Turnus saying that Apple's going to change the world. We actually got comments last week that Apple's Siri is going to be revamped here and could be the best of the AI personal assistants. So we'll see if we get anything out of that here this week as well. Okay, let's take a look at the first story here. This is probably the big one. I know we were talking about trading Marvell late last week, and we had 2 really good intraday calls. Now, if you were swinging it, unfortunately, it wasn't that great because the rest of Friday, Marvell got absolutely pounded. And then a bit of a reprieve in the after hours. Let's check out what's going on here. Marvell, ticker MRVL, shares climbed in the after hours trading on Friday after the chip maker secured a spot in the S&P 500 index. And let me pause real quick there because I think someone last week asked if we thought Marvell was going to go into the S&P. Maybe I'm hallucinating that, but I don't think so. I think one of you folks was asking that. It wasn't part of our discussion. I didn't have a thought on it at the time, but here we go. That actually looked to be a really good call as well. S&P Dow Jones Indices said Friday that the chipmaker will join the benchmark index before the market opens on June 22nd, replacing pool equipment distributor Poolcorp, ticker POOL. Marvell shares closed Friday down 16.7% at 263.47, and in after-hours trading, it rose 3.5% to 272.78. That was according to data from Benzinga Pro. Looking at it here in the pre-market today, we're looking at 286.35. Marvell's inclusion follows a key financial milestone. The company has achieved profitability under generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP, both in the quarter ended in December and across the most recent 4 quarters combined. Marvell has emerged as one of the biggest beneficiaries of the artificial intelligence infrastructure boom. Year to date, Marvell shares are up 194.74%. The stock has also surged roughly 32.07% in the past 5 days alone, aided in part by NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang calling Marvell the next trillion-dollar company. Marvell's market cap currently stands at $230.48 billion. Now, don't forget, Marvell reported quarterly earnings of 80 cents per share, which topped analyst estimates of 79 cents per share. Revenue for the quarter rose to $2.42 billion, and that surpassed consensus estimates of $2.4 billion and increased from $1.9 billion a year ago. Marvell expects second quarter adjusted EPS of 88 cents to 98 cents. That was versus an estimate of 90 cents. And the forecasting of revenue is $2.57 billion to $2.84 billion, and the analysts are expecting $2.6 billion. So we'll see what we get here for Marvell. It's been a great one from our group. Given the move on Friday, what do you guys think on this? For those of you that aren't in it, is this enough of a pullback to one of our key levels where now this is an attractive buy? And for those of you that are in it, either recently, I would imagine you're probably going to stick this out, but let me know. Did you buy it up in 300 or near 280? It pulled back to 260. What are you planning to do with it? Did you hold it over the weekend? Are you glad that it's back here today? So let me know what the thought is here on Marvell. Looks good here in the pre-market. Neville, appreciate you. I loaded Marvell at 255. So you're doing good then. You are doing good. No problem. Okay. Tyler says Marvell is a gem. I'll be riding it for a while. Okay, good. So it seems like you folks have a bullish long-term view here on Marvell, despite that Friday sell-off. And good morning, Smita. Great to see you. All right, next story here is NBIS. This has been another really great AI name. NBIS here today. Let me actually check where we're currently sitting today. NBIS pre-market highs. This thing closed at 227.81 on Friday. It is 238 here in the pre-market today. Now, what's going on with this? Let's dive in. NBIS Group, or ticker NBIS, rose in pre-market trading this morning, recovering some of the last week's sharp losses as improving risk appetite boosted demand for artificial intelligence and high-growth tech stocks. NBIS shares gained about 2% before the opening bell, while the NASDAQ futures advanced just shy of 1%, and the S&P 500 added 0.4. And this is signaling renewed strength in the broader technology sector. We'll see if that continues throughout the day. The rebound follows a difficult Friday session in which NBIS shares closed down 12.27% amid a broad retreat across AI and semiconductor-related stocks. The weakness came after Broadcom, ticker AVGO, reported quarterly results but maintained rather than raised its long-term AI semiconductor revenue outlook. The decision triggered profit-taking across several AI-linked names. Monday's gains appeared to reflect a broader improvement in market sentiment rather than any company-specific announcement, with traders rotating back into high-momentum tech stocks as equity futures strengthened. Separately, NBIS said Monday it will invest about £1.7 billion to expand its artificial intelligence infrastructure in the UK, adding 3 new NVIDIA-powered deployments. The AI cloud company said its 4 UK sites will have a combined capacity of 65 megawatts by 2027, supporting enterprise and agentic AI workloads. The expansion builds on its first UK deployment of NVIDIA Blackwell Ultra infrastructure, which was launched in November of 2025. NBIS said UK customers, including Revolt and PreMarket, are already using its platform, while the company is also expanding its London AI research and commercial hub and hiring additional engineering talent. NBIS is still in a powerful uptrend over longer timeframes, up 333.26%, well over the past 12 months and trading well above its major moving averages. At 232.30, the stock is about 6.8% above its 20-day moving average of 217.64 and a whopping 98.3% above its 200-day simple moving average that comes in at 117.16. This tells you that the trend is in fact extended, but still intact. The moving average structure stays bullish, with the 20-day simple moving average above the 50-day simple moving average and the 50-day simple moving average above the 200-day moving average. This is a classic trend-following alignment. That said, the distance above the 50 SMA is large, about 34.6%, so pullbacks can be sharp if momentum cools. Now, for momentum, MACD is the cleaner read right now. It's above the signal line and the histogram is positive, which points to improving upside pressure versus the prior downswing. In plain English, when MACD is above its signal line, it suggests buyers are regaining control even if the price is already extended. June stands out as the most important recent inflection. The stock set a swing high and tagged its 52-week high of 278.84 that month, and it also broke above its resistance in June, often a regime change moment that can turn old ceilings into future support zones. The more recent swing low in March is the last major line in the sand on the chart for long-term trend traders. So, and really quickly, I want to take a quick look at the chart before we dive into the next news story. But the other thing here, looking further out, NBIS does report their earnings at the beginning of August. It says August 6th here, although that's estimated. The company hasn't confirmed that. And EPS estimate, they're still looking for a loss of 73 cents. Revenue, they're looking for 583 million. And a valuation, they're looking at about an 88 PE. That is a premium valuation for sure. BNP Paribas has a neutral with a 255 price target on it. Davidson has neutral with 250, and Citigroup is a buy. They raised their target to 287. Now let's take a quick look here at the NBIS daily chart. I know this has been a great trade here, and guess what happened? Now we've pulled back to the 20-day. Looks like we tagged it perfectly. We are higher here in the pre-market, or up off the lows, I should say, in the pre-market. How many of you think NBIS is at a bounce spot here? Is this a buy? Is this something that can maybe move back towards the highs here? Okay, so we'll see here. Kathy, I think this is related. SpaceX will be added to the NASDAQ 100. They waived the rules and will be added 15 days after trading. Usually an IPO has to wait 3 months. Because SpaceX will be a part of the NASDAQ 100, anyone that owns QQQ will have it in the basket of stocks. And of course, one of the things that we floated last week is there are a lot of people that want to buy SpaceX on this IPO, whether they're participating in the actual IPO itself or buying it on the open market. And those funds have to come from somewhere. And if you look around, the big cap tech that's been on a huge run got sold. Bitcoin, big run, got sold. So you would imagine that this is cash being raised for this IPO here. We'll see if they raise more for other IPOs as well. Okay, next story here. Cathie Wood calls the Fed's 2022 rate hike a massive mistake, and then goes on to say Kevin Warsh will fix it. Now, this is interesting to me because we've talked about Kevin Warsh having perhaps the least desirable job right now in all of finance, heading the Fed here when the president wants interest rates cut, the economy's humming, and inflation is sticky, so not in a spot really to cut. Cathie Wood here, though, confident that Kevin Warsh is going to fix it. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood has launched a sharp critique of U.S. monetary policy, branding the Federal Reserve's 2022 interest rate hikes, quote, a massive mistake, end quote, while asserting that newly appointed chairman Kevin Warsh will successfully fix it. Wood argued that when history is viewed with enough hindsight, dangerous, the aggressive rate tightening cycle initiated 4 years ago will be recognized as a severe economic policy error. She stated that the central bank wrongfully attempted to solve a structural supply shock with higher interest rates, which only, quote, hurt supply even more, end quote. This misguided strategy resulted in a multi-year supply shock and unnecessary market volatility, an outcome Wood believes could have been avoided with a supply-side framework rather than relying on the outdated Phillips curve. Wood remains highly confident that new Fed Chairman Warsh will correct these historical errors. Describing him as a leader with a supply-side policy bent, Wood noted that Warsh does not believe strong employment and growth are inherently bad news. Instead of stoking inflation, this boom is being driven by rapid gains in corporate productivity, artificial intelligence, and robotics. Wood emphasized that Warsh's appointment and confirmation, quote, bodes very well for monetary policy here in the United States, done correctly, end quote. This is providing a much-needed stability to anxious financial markets. Wood's macroeconomic assessment comes directly on the heels of newly released employment report, which showed total non-farm payrolls jumping by 172,000 in May. While anxious markets sold off on fears that a hot labor market would keep interest rates higher for longer, Wood characterized the employment numbers as a total, quote, barn burner, end quote. She boldly declared that, quote, this economy is moving into boom territory, end quote, reflecting conventional warnings that robust job growth automatically triggers an unmanageable inflationary spiral. However, market commentators often offer a stark different framework for evaluating interest rates. In a social media post, macro strategist Jim Bianco challenged the political and market consensus that lower interest rates are inherently superior. Bianco pushed back on the simplified narrative that, quote, higher is always bad for whatever reason and lower is always good for whatever reason, end quote, and he labeled that fundamentally incorrect. According to Bianco, quote, the why matters more than the level when it comes to interest rates, end quote. He explained that if rates rise to 6% due to a fundamentally strong economy with solid earnings and low employment, it is ultimately a good thing. Conversely, Bianco warned that using government and monetary policy to artificially force interest rates too low risks creating speculative excesses and structural malinvestment that often ends in tears. So which side are you on? Cathie Wood or Jim Bianco? Do you want lower interest rates, higher interest rates? Or are you just the Zen master trader and you don't care? You're going to trade whatever hand is in front of you. Let me know what you think on all of that. All right, it's 8:29 here. We are absolutely cruising. I anticipate us having plenty of time for ticker time as we are guest-free on this Monday here. We also talked about SpaceX a little bit. That is going to be a huge theme here this week. We're going to start with this. Google may have handed SpaceX the perfect IPO catalyst. You don't say. You don't say. Space Exploration Technology Company, or SpaceX, has disclosed a cloud services agreement with Alphabet's Google. Google, worth more than $30 billion on Friday, a deal that an analyst says could strengthen the company's investment case ahead of its planned initial public offering. Sorry about the voice inflection there. That deal is worth more than $30 billion. Obviously, Google's worth much more than that. The agreement, detailed in an SEC filing tied to SpaceX's IPO process, provides Google with access to computing capacity that includes approximately 110,000 NVIDIA graphics processing units, along with CPUs, memory, and other related components. Under the filing, Google will pay SpaceX $920 million per month from October of 2026 through June of 2029. The agreement also includes a ramp-up period before October 2026 at a reduced fee. Counterpoint research analyst Neil Shah said the deal reflects the growing shortage of large-scale AI infrastructure as demand for generative AI services accelerates. According to Shah, the agreement gives Google immediate access to computing resources for its Gemini models, AI-powered search products, and Google Cloud customers without waiting for new data center capacity to be built. The analyst also believes Google could use part of the infrastructure to serve enterprise cloud customers that prefer NVIDIA's CUDA ecosystem while preserving its in-house tensor processing units for internal AI workloads. Shah said the arrangement could provide Google with a faster path to additional AI capacity while giving SpaceX a significant source of recurring revenue ahead of its expected stock market debut. The analyst estimated that Google could package the computing infrastructure with software and cloud services for enterprise customers, potentially generating attractive margins. He also said the agreement could encourage investors to view SpaceX as an AI infrastructure provider in addition to its aerospace and satellite businesses. According to the SEC filing, SpaceX must have the committed GPU capacity operational and accessible by September 30th of this year. If it fails to meet that deadline, Google may terminate the agreement after a 1-month grace period or accept a reduced number of GPUs with a proportional reduction in monthly payments. The filing also states that Google will retain ownership of its content, AI models, and related data processing on the infrastructure. After December 31st, 2026, either party may terminate the agreement with 90 days' notice. Shah described the partnership as an example of increasing cooperation among major AI companies seeking access to scarce computing resources, saying the arrangement benefits both companies by matching Google's demand for AI capacity with SpaceX's expanding infrastructure business. So, Marcus, your reaction was exactly what my reaction was. $920 million per month. I mean, just crazy. This really does come at a good time, though. I mean, especially SpaceX is going to get added to some of these indexes early. Having some good recurring revenue before we even IPO, probably a good move. Probably a good move. Probably will help how the stock trades, to be honest. All right, now, I know we've got green arrows here. We've got an NBA Finals game tonight. We've got a lot of happiness here in the chat. But we bring you both sides here. The AI trade just entered a warning zone, according to Barclays. I'd love to get your opinions on this one. Are we in a warning zone? What does that mean? The stock market's artificial intelligence-fueled rally is entering what Barclays describes as a warning zone as investors grapple with persistent inflation and the prospect of higher for longer interest rates. Speaking to Fortune, Barclays head of U.S. equity strategy, Venu Krishna, said rising treasury yields are emerging as a key risk for equities, particularly as investors scale back expectations for Federal Reserve rate cuts. The concerns intensified after a stronger than expected U.S. jobs report triggered a sell-off in technology stocks on Friday, and that sent the NASDAQ down more than 4% and the S&P 500 down 2.6%. The May jobs report showed the labor market remained far stronger than expected. Payrolls rose by 172,000, well above the consensus estimates of 85,000, while revisions added a combined 93,000 jobs to the previous 2 months. The unemployment rate held steady at 4.3%. The stronger than expected data came on the heels of April's inflation readings that showed consumer prices rising 3.8% year over year, reinforcing concerns that price pressures remain persistent. At the same time, supply-side pressures continue to weigh on the economy. Higher energy costs, tariffs on imported goods, and a slower growing labor force have all contributed to concerns that inflation could remain elevated, which complicates the Fed's efforts to bring the price growth back to its 2% target. As a result, investors have increasingly scaled back expectations for rate cuts, with money markets now largely pricing in the possibility of an additional rate hike before year end. According to Krishna, technology stocks are particularly sensitive to rising interest rates because much of their expected value is tied to profit projections years into the future. It's even more with AI now. At current levels, Krishna said markets are approaching a range where higher yields have historically created greater pressure on growth-oriented stocks. Quote, "We are in the warning zone, but just in the warning zone," end quote. That came from Krishna. He went on to say 5% is more of a clear level, but as we start approaching it, the market will start to price in that risk, end quote. The move highlights a growing tension in markets whether strong AI-driven earnings growth can continue to offset the impact of higher interest rates. Analysts have pointed to elevated valuations, heavy concentration in a small group of technology companies, and a massive capital spending commitments across the industry as a potential source of risk. While many analysts continue to view AI as a long-term growth theme, recent market moves suggest investors are becoming more sensitive to inflation, interest rates, and the cost of the industry's unprecedented spending boom. The strategist noted that hyperscalers are trading at around 26 times forward earnings, cheaper than they were earlier this year despite improved earnings, and said further declines would be, quote, "a huge buying opportunity," end quote. As a result, Krishna told Fortune that Friday's sell-off does not signal the end of the AI trade, but rather reflects investors adjusting to a higher rate environment. So what do you think about that? Do you think we are adjusting to a higher rate environment? Lion here says, Krishna's not wrong, Ryan, about the yield, but AI investment is going to continue for a while. I would totally agree with that. I think AI, see, that's the thing. Like, not only is the investment going to continue by pretty much the only companies that can handle it, but if there's anything on the far side of this where we're all like, yeah, this is really awesome, this is really awesome, it is going to continue for even longer than that. It's going to continue for even longer than that. So we'll see. Chris asking, does anyone notice South Korea going limit down twice in the last 2 trading days? And actually, I did see that the Kospi, that was getting killed here this morning as well. So we'll see. Good morning, Odie Garfield. That's a great name right there. All right, last story here. Then we'll do street tweets, and then we'll do some ticker time. So I'm sure you folks are going to want to take a look at those. I see Google, NBIS, and Marvell calls already. All right. Elon Musk's Tesla reports 22% China sales growth and a 68% exports surge in May. Oh my gosh, it's a Monday. Stop. Let me ask you just a really quick question before we dive into the story. How many of you still care about Tesla making electric vehicles? Because to me, it seems like Tesla, if it already hasn't happened, Tesla is very quickly becoming a robotics company, robotics and AI, I would say. So how many of you still look or care about the EV angle of Tesla? I'd like to know for my own story selection here. Otherwise, I might be able to select some other ones. Tyler just says, no, the cars are garbage. Okay. That's good feedback, though. Tesla, ticker TSLA, reported growth in its Chinese retail sales and exports during May as the Elon Musk-led EV giant tries to regain its sales dominance. In a post on X on Monday, influencer Tesla Chan cited data released by the China Passenger Car Association, or the CPCA, which showed that Tesla reported selling 47,821 units via retail sales in May. And that was up 22.6% year over year when compared to May of 2025, when Tesla sold 38,588 units. Tesla's exports also grew 68% to 38,701 units. That was compared to May 2025's 23,074 units. The automaker reported wholesale sales of 85,982 units during May of 2026. Tesla reported a 655% surge in French car registrations during May, bringing the number to 5,446 vehicles, while also reporting a 71% growth in Sweden to 858 vehicles sold. Sales grew 136% to 1,750 in Denmark and grew 113% to 1,690 in Spain. So it looks like, at least by those numbers, it's growing in all of those different regions. Meanwhile, investor Ross Gerber earlier said that the war in Iran could have had a positive impact on Tesla sales. Surging fuel costs could prompt customers to shift towards EVs. And I'm going to push back on that a little bit. I don't think it's that easy. Yeah, there might be a very affluent group at the top that can has multiple cars, can manage electric versus internal combustion, and then can also has the infrastructure or the capability of adding charging systems to their house or wherever they live. Maybe they live next or close to a charging station. But not everybody can do this. And a surge in fuel prices is not necessarily going to change how people are going to buy new vehicles. I mean, I think people that are interested in electric vehicles are interested in electric vehicles when gas is $3.90 a gallon and when gas is $5 a gallon. That's just my read and talking to the people that are in my sphere of influence. Notably, Musk recently hit back at critics of the Tesla brand, like Tyler, who said the cars are garbage, who said that the EV giant's sales would be damaged following Musk's right-wing political activism and his association with President Trump, as the Model Y SUV emerged as a top seller across multiple markets. So, food for thought there. I know there was a lot of talk about that. The numbers aren't showing that. They showed that maybe a temporary blip, but those numbers seem to be falling right back in line. Okay. Let's do street tweets real quick, and then we can start taking a look at some stocks. I think you folks were talking about PDYN, which is one of our movers here that might have some news. So we'll go ahead and take a look at all of this stuff here. Let's go ahead and do street tweets right now. All right, first tweet here comes from Peter Schiff, and he says, Jamie Dimon claims crypto companies that offer interest-bearing products should be subject to the same capital and compliance requirements imposed on banks. Peter Schiff says that's nonsense. Says banks are FDIC insured and make risky loans under a fractional reserve system. Stablecoin issuers don't. So whose side are you on here? Jamie Dimon or Peter Schiff? I'd like to hear about you on that. Let me know what you think. All right, let's go back here to live trading. Let's go back to Pro. We can take a look at PDYN. I did see here, producer, I don't know when you posted this here, but I'm just noticing it now. Producer is letting me know Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference for 2026, which starts today. Gemini-powered Siri is going to be unveiled today. And so that should be bullish for Apple and Google. You know what? Before we dive into PDYN, why don't we take a look at those two charts real quick? And then the other piece of news, Brian's reminding everybody, we talked about this on Thursday last week about the PDT rule officially coming to an end. More brokers, including Charles Schwab, which is a big one here today, are going to not have this restriction anymore. So I'm very, very curious to see if we see anything noticeable from the increased retail crowd. I would love input from the group here. If you guys notice anything, let me know. I know for those of you that are under the 25K, it's going to be like a night and day difference. For those of you that are over the 25K, I'm very curious to see if you see a difference in how things trade from what you were seeing, going into this. Very, very curious about that. But anyway, let's get back to the chart here. I want to take a look at both of these charts, Apple and Google, and then we'll go ahead and go through some ticker time and through some of these movers. Here's where Apple is sitting. Now, it is up 0.5% today. This has made a great move. It traded above 300. It actually consolidated right along this 300 number, which is perfect, frankly, before finally breaking higher. I definitely want us to hold 300. My gut feeling is that we will. I don't think we're going to see disappointment out of the conference today that's going to cause Apple to sell off. We'll see if I'm right about that. But also notice the 20-day moving average coming up to support us. So before we even talk about 300 here, 305 is absolutely going to be a key level here for Apple. Furthermore, what I would absolutely love is if we could take out the top of the candle from Friday. That value here is going to be 312.86. So if Apple can get above 312.86, maybe let's just call it 313. I really think that can put the juice back in this to maybe set a new all-time high here, and then maybe even react to any of the good news that we see from the developers conference here this week. And then finally, if any of you folks have any thoughts on what are you waiting for out of the developers conference? Maybe you are waiting for the stuff on Siri. Maybe you want to hear about some of the next generation Apple technology that's going to go in the phone, MacBook, and iPad. Let me know. I'm curious about that. Okay, and then Google was the other one related to that. Let's take a quick peek at Google. This also pulled back. I love this. This pulled back basically to the 50. And although we didn't actually test it, it sure felt like this is a pretty good pullback. We also closed the gap here. So that's pretty good. Now, if we can break above the high of this candle, this is the candle from June 4th, Thursday, June 4th. High here is going to be 369.86. We're currently at 364.11. If we can break that high, and let's just call it 370 just to make it a little bit easy. If we can break that high, I think this is actually pretty gappy up to that trend line. We do have the 20-day moving average sitting in the middle there at about 380. Maybe it does find some resistance there. Wouldn't be totally shocked. But we can keep this constructive move going here today, post pullback, if Apple and Google both trade to the upside. So very curious to see how these folks trade. I am curious to see what comes out of this. I don't necessarily have any expectations going into it. Maybe that's why I'm still bullish. I guess if I had a lot of kind of sky high expectations and we didn't get that, you might think about selling it. But I'm going into this with no expectations. I am long Apple, so full disclosure, I do better when it goes up, and that's obviously what I'm hoping for. But focusing on this, I want to see what comes out of this conference. And I know Apple's talked, we have actually talked as a group on how behind Apple has been on AI. Does the Siri advancement actually take it to the next level? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know here. Okay, good stuff on that piece of news, though. Let's take a look. Let me just catch up on some comments here. Boy, you folks are great here this morning. Forsman says, who primarily trades options in here? What is everyone paying per contract? I asked Schwab for a 25-cent fee last week, down from 50, and they got me to 40 cents per contract. I think I'm paying a quarter per contract with Schwab. Lion is saying, oh, yes, Ryan, the PDT is going to benefit the stock market. All those kids out there will ask their parents for a couple hundred and put it straight into the market. Lion, I can't even tell if that is sarcastic or not, to be quite honest with you. All those kids out there putting in a couple $100, what does that actually equate to? My gut tells me that would be negligible. That's just me. That maybe I'm misreading that there. Apple spends far less on CapEx, and the App Store will house all of the great apps it creates. Apple does pay Google, if I remember correctly. You do, with the agreement that they announced earlier this year. So this is interesting. The CapEx thing is correct. We kind of made fun of Apple when they relied on Gemini for Siri. But again, Marcus, I think the big thing here is that I really want to hear more of the details here on Siri. And I mean, maybe I'm being a prisoner of the moment, but hearing some of the Apple execs, including the new CEO, hype up Siri as it's going to be a big game changer, I want to know what that is. I hope that's not a disappointment. If it is a disappointment, I could see Apple responding negatively to that. So yes, it does sound like Lion was being sarcastic there. Okay, well, that's why we can't have nice things. Okay, let's take a look at PDYN here and see what's going on. We'll start with the chart. Here's what it looks like. Now on Friday, and a lot of the small caps really got blasted on Friday. On Friday, we basically came into the 200-day moving average. All right, so we came in, we basically closed right above it. We're holding there. Now, this is back up at 7:30 here today. So let's take a look inside and see where we're at. So here's what it looks like. This is nice. So we had, whatever the news is, we're going to look this up in a sec, a nice impulse move higher here, backed off of that. Now it looks like we're trying to take this out. I would say this 750 to 760 area is going to be key. And if we break that, it probably sets up a full retracement up to 810, 811. Yeah, the round number 8 is in there. But this is just kind of what I'm looking at from the chart here. If we go back to the daily, really what we want to do, here's that 8 level that we're talking about. That'd be good, but really what we want to do is get back above 9 and 10 here. I'll tell you what, 8, 9, and 10 look to be some pretty significant resistance levels. Let's take them one at a time here on PDYN. Stock is up about 9% here today. Let's take a look at the news. Paladine AI and IAI form a partnership to manufacture and sell combat-proven loitering munition systems to the U.S. Department of War. Produce, integrate, market Harpy, Harop, and Mini Harpy loitering munition systems. So these are just effectively autonomous drones, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. Okay, now, okay, so there's no numbers in here. But Paladine will host a conference call tomorrow, June 9th, 9 a.m., to discuss this morning's announcement. Interesting. So we're going to get more details, perhaps the numbers details that I really want. We're going to get more of those tomorrow morning, 30 minutes before the market opens. Guys and gals, if you want to trade this or you're interested in this, I think this needs to go into your calendar for tomorrow. Blowing up loiterers, no, I would imagine that you would do ISR on them first. I don't think you just blow up loiterers, Joe. But again, we'll hear some more. We'll hear some more combat-proven long-range munitions. So maybe if they get out of line there, we'll hear more about this in the conference call. But this is actually this actually sounds like pretty good news on the surface. Stock is trading higher here by 9%. Short interest on this name actually elevated too. These aren't high by our metrics, but both of these metrics are elevated. 16.22% of the float shorted with 4.32 days to cover on PDYN. And boy, look at this sideways area that we've been in since what, the end of the fall of 2024. Paladine has really kind of dealt with this consolidation area. It's 5 to 10 area. A break out of this, maybe we do go towards 15. There is some resistance up there as well. Okay. How much time do we have? 8:54. We got 6 minutes until we get 13, and we're going to do more breakdowns of some of the movers. Let me see. Barb, you were talking about Quantum. Quantum is moving back up this morning. I am not surprised to hear that, given that we're seeing a rebound here in technology. Quantum has really been trading with that. Let's start here with Rigetti, but we can roll through several of those Quantum names if you'd like. Rigetti here sitting at 2148. Boy, oh boy, how shocked are you that it's sitting right here? I'm not. We have been talking, I feel like, for months at this point. That 2150 is a very significant level here on Rigetti. I've got it marked off with the horizontal blue line. It does go back. Yeah, I was going to say this goes all the way back to December of 2024. this being a particular level. So last week we blew through this level. We actually fell through the 200 and the 20. Today, though, it actually looks like we're trying to recapture this level. I would say 23 would be a level that we really have to get above. 2340 is where the 200-day moving average is. And then also shout out anyone that traded RGTZ on the move on Friday. This is what it looked like. This thing was just up all day, up, up, up. I know it was, opened here at about 320, got to a high of 4. It's not like a huge move in terms of multiple points, but this thing just basically traded up all day. Let me go back to the daily chart here. Here's RGTZ. We took a look at Rigetti. We might as well take a look at IONQ. This is viewed by most, or maybe I shouldn't say most because I don't have stats on that, but this is viewed by a lot of people as the best quantum name. This currently right beneath its 20-day moving average. We would definitely want that to get taken out. And then furthermore, we also want this trend line to get recaptured. Let me extend it a bit. This is what we're looking at IONQ. As far as more downside, we definitely want to take a look at this trend as well. I'm going to make that a little bit more aggressive and chop some of that wick off. But we would really want to hold this. Got this value down here at 53, probably 56 by the time we get down there. Barb says, I've made so much money bouncing quantum this year. I'm glad we're taking a look at it then. How about that QNT, Quantinuum? That was the new IPO from last week. It has yet to put in a green candle, folks. Is today the day? Up 1.8% here in the pre-market. The one thing about this QNT, this is going to be much more difficult than some of these other names. We just simply don't have a lot of candle and price history for this. So this actually feels a bit more of a gamble than Rigetti or Ionic. You know what? We should also take a look at INFQ. That's been another one here. Look at this pullback to the 20-day. Look at this pullback to the 20-day and a hold. Who's a buyer of INFQ here? Oh, and you know what? That actually reminds me. Pullback to a key level. That reminds me. Another show favorite here, Velo, which has done great for us. I know this has really gotten killed recently. If you followed any of the trading plans that we had kind of done here together, we talked multiple sessions leading up to and after about how important $20 was. I know a lot of us took gains at 20 and then maybe trimmed the rest. I'm all out of Velo on the move back down here, just filled the rest there at 20. This thing actually went to 26. Now the pullback here, this basically is holding on a trend line that originates at the beginning of this year. So we have this, let's call this a resistance trend line that we finally broke out of and back tested. Now we've rolled back over. So this to me is going to be a key spot here for Velo 3D systems. Can we hold this area? Can we hold this trend line? Can we hold this 50-day moving average? They're all in the same spot. Got this here at about, 1532 up to 16. The stock is currently 1670 here today. This is what it looks like intraday. So we're kind of gently coming back up off of that trend line. You can see how cleanly this bounced off of it. So I'd actually like sub 15s to maybe reload a swing here. I don't have any of this right now. So if this really starts to make a move here, I actually might day trade it, hopefully get some green on that, and then feel comfortable holding a portion of that as a swing. We'll see how that all goes. You know what happens with the best laid plans. Sometimes they don't really work. Okay. What else do you folks want to take a look at? I'm seeing ePro mentioned here. You guys want to take a look at Dragonfly? Tell you what, a lot of these pulled right back to their 20. Dragonfly pulled back, held the 20. In this case, it actually looks like to the penny based on where we closed. We're 3% higher here today. So maybe we can make a move and try to recapture some of this candle that we put in. 660 is going to be your 100-day. That might provide some resistance if we continue to trade back up. Okay. Oh, and I just got the confirmation in Schwab that the PDT no longer affects anybody. So if you were curious or you didn't see the official news, I just got a warning, if you will, in the broker. All right. Looks like, yep, you guys all did. Mo chilling, the same thing. Okay, great. Now, let's do, excuse me, easy for me to say, let's do pre-market pulse. $13, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing just fine. Good morning. Having a nice little recovery off the weekend. How about you?
I'm doing the same thing. Let me ask you, first of all, over the weekend, there was a baseball game being played in Arlington, Texas, and that stadium has a roof. And when they were coming back from commercial break, they showed outside, and it looked like a tempest had rolled through. I mean, it looked like it was midnight. It was pitch black. Everything was wet. You were talking about some crazy rain at the end of last week. It appears that rain came up here to Chicago for a little bit over the weekend.
Sending good vibes.
Thanks, 13, for sending us rainstorms. That was perfect. At least I got my golf in. 13, where do you want to start here today?
We can look at these movers.
Perfect. We actually did have a couple that were moving on catalysts here. Which is there a particular one that you want to start with?
I looked at Soon first, S-U-N-E.
So name, perfect.
OCC and GMHS.
Okay, we're going to start with those three. I think TNGX also has some news. ABAT, one of the battery plays, has some news, so we can look into those as well. Starting here with Soon, that's S-U-N-E. This is Sun Nation Energy. You can see this traded up towards 350 here in the pre-market before regressing back to the VWAP and holding it. That should be good for trading action. This is actually the second impulse move that we made as well. Stock is currently holding higher by 155%, so we do have a 100% runner here today. And the catalyst here, Sun Nation Energy and Suniva, enter a definitive merger agreement, creating a platform for American solar manufacturing and services leadership. They're going to merge and form a combined company with an implied value of $226 per share and will retain Soon's NASDAQ listing. So no ticker change. They're going to retain everything that they currently have, but the combined price is $226 per share. Stock is currently $285 right now. Quick peek at the short interest on this, 5% with 1 day to cover. There's something there, but it's negligible. Float 4.12 million. And this thing has traded almost 100 million shares. On average, it trades less than 2 million. 13, what do you think here, SUNE?
Well, you said pretty much all there is. This company does have revenue. It's not quite profitable, but it did just recently have their first quarter earnings back in the middle of May, where they showed a significant improvement in their EPS. Also before that, in the beginning of May, there was the CFO and the CEO both ended up buying a lot of shares at 177. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe we saw some of that unwound today, but we'll see what happens. As far as the chart is concerned, I had VWAP and 250 as a support area, and wouldn't you know it, we kind of dipped beneath it, and then we just recaptured it all within a 10-minute span. And we're trying to trade higher. Now the next resistance I'm looking at is going to be about $2.95 to $3. The sideways price action that we were kind of hanging out at here when we reached that 347 high this morning. So I think that's going to be resistance for the time being. I would kind of point out 325 as well. If we do get back into that 3 handle, that's going to be the next big area of resistance.
Okay, I see the 325 here. We'll see what Soon gives us today. Sun Nation Energy. Sun Nation Energy. Okay, what was the next one that you had on your list?
OCC.
OCC, perfect, because that happens to be the next one on the list. This company, Optical Cable Corporation. So I think this is in one of the themes that we have identified. Oh yeah. Okay, that's a good answer. They also reported earnings here before open. The conference call hasn't taken place yet, so maybe we'll get a second wave of what's going on here. Stock is up considerably, up 60%. Optical cable Q2 EPS of 12 cents is up from the 9-cent loss projected. So definitely good there. Sales of 22.21 million are up from the up from 17.5 million year over year. So not a whole lot yet, but the EPS looks like it's better. So good earnings here. And again, good theme. 4.27% of the float shorted, 1.03 days to cover. Stuff there, pretty negligible. Not going to impact anything here today. Float just shy of 7 million at 6.84 on average. It trades 250,000 shares. It's traded nearly 4.5 million here today. What do you think here on OCC?
Well, the earnings were certainly positive, and we've got the result of that here, taking us up to 23.37 as the high. We're currently struggling to recapture VWAP, which I had as a support level. So beneath that, if we continue to weaken here, I would think that maybe 17 or 18 might be the next support area if we fall further. Still trying to recapture VWAP. We'll see what we get as it moves into the open. Company does have revenue, as indicated by this earnings. It's profitable this ER, but it still needs cash. And that's the other thing I neglected, I think, to mention with SUNE. That company also does need cash. So keep that in mind as we trade this. There are going to be potentials for capital raises maybe as early as today. But aside from that, positive earnings, and this is, like you said, in that theme of the data centers. They offer optical and copper data cable solutions. Passive optical LAN installations and applications in military, industrial, mining, everything industrial and heavy industry. So very, very much in that theme. And I would be watching this for a recapture of VWAP. I think that's what the next thing that needs to happen. We get rejected. I think we start seeing that 17 to 18 area.
Okay, and so far 13, we have been rejected. I know it peaked above it, but this 5-minute candle is unable to get above and close above that VWAP. So good stuff there. All right, really quickly, I want to, you guys, I will get to BBAI. It's not part of the movers. We'll get to that here in just a sec. A couple of things. Brandon saying, I've traded soon, which was our first mover here in the past, and I've got bit, so be cautious with it.
Yep.
Maybe the merger will help. Hey, I'll take any insight on that. Lion, no surprise here. Lion's pounding the table that Marvell's going back to 300. And was there another one in here that I wanted? Go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, you could just look at a daily chart on SUNE and understand the need to be cautious with it.
Yeah.
This thing is, and I only saw one reverse split. It was like a 1 for 200, I believe it was last year, but still a significant split that resulted in the price being what it is and the chart looking the way it does.
Okay. I'm going to divert here a little bit so Unpopular Truth doesn't lose his mind. Intel looks to be spiking on volume here. This is up 12%. We'll see if we've got a piece of news here.
This is obvious.
Yeah. Google and NVIDIA consider Intel as a backup chip manufacturer. This is an article from this morning per the information.
Yeah,
didn't we already know this?
I don't think like this really speaks to me as anything new that we didn't see coming. Like, oh my gosh, wait, they're going to use Intel?
Okay, but nonetheless, this is I believe this explains the move. The timestamp lines up with the actual move itself here. I put the story in the chat. It is paywalled though, so. But yeah, so okay, nice to see the move here. This maybe will help get some of those losses back from Friday's session. But I don't know. Yeah, new old news. Cam, that's a really good way of putting it. That new old news. But there you go, Unpopular Truth. There's your answer.
I think if there was going to be anything new, we would want to see something like they are tapping Global Foundries as a backup to Intel. Or
Intel presents new chip that rivals the 2-nanometer one from Taiwan Semiconductor.
They're trying.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like that news would hit, I think.
I think that their 14A process might end up being the news that does that, but that could still be a little ways away.
Yeah,
I think, and you're getting a little left from GFS as well on this because they, in the CHIPS Act, grant, Intel was one of them and GFS was another, but this is for quantum computing. Still, I think I'm sorry, it's IBM and GFS, but still, I think that you want to keep an eye on what GFS is doing because they are a foundry, and that's something that these chip companies are going to be really leaning on going forward as the demand for compute continues to rise.
Okay. Okay. The next one on the list here, GMHS. This is Gamehouse Holdings. Now, be careful with this one. This does have a catalyst here, but be careful. 13, we've been looking at the theme here of some of these China names that end up popping and then going sometimes in the afternoon. So maybe, put that on your note sheet. But number one here, this popped in the after hours on Friday and again here in the pre-market, and they were rejected at the exact same spot. So weekend did not change anything there. Now, what's going on here? Well, Monday, Gamehouse Holdings, Q3 EPS of 1 cent is the same year over year, and sales of 28.84 million were up from 26.2 million year over year. Okay, we're getting some earnings on this China company, and they appear to be better. They see Q4 sales of 23 to 26 million. They just put up a quarter where there was 28 million. This is a mobile game developer company. It's up 55%. The short interest on this is negligible, so I don't think a short squeeze is in play here. Stock's traded 20 million shares and has a float of 10.88 million. 13, do you have any thoughts here on Gamehouse?
10.8 million is what your float read is?
Let's see. And did I read the wrong one? No, excuse me. I just didn't read the right number. I have 18.86 million. I apologize.
No,
it looked like a zero, and I'm just a dummy.
No, it's fine. I was just making sure because I thought I may have read the wrong one. But yeah, so this ER here has lifted it in the pre-market initially, but we've been selling off after that double top happened with relation to the price action we got on Friday. I think this might be at an area of support. It could go as low as 125, in my opinion, and find some more support down there. But it looks like it's trying to turn around here. But still would wait for that confirmation that we are bottoming and turning around. The company is slightly profitable. It's got revenue. It's got cash. It's looking much better than some of the other ones we've been looking at here this morning. But in terms of their finances, but this could be, because it's a China name and we're expecting a bit of a theme here. I want to wait and see if this actually ends up being another one that gets latched onto and goes on a bit of a run. And we have some levels to watch for. 125 is a support area. 150 is going to be resistance. If we get past that, then you have the 65 EMA and VWAP, which would be the next areas of resistance. And after that, if we can recapture both of those, there's going to be some other areas of resistance, especially $2. But I think that's going to give us a really good indication that this may break those highs that it was getting in the after hours and pre-market.
Okay. All right, good stuff there. GMHS. All right. Do we hit all of the ones on your list? Did we not?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Now, I think there were only a couple on here. Let me start with ABAT because that seems to be moving down the list, and I know that this had news here. ABAT, American Battery Technology. This morning, we had a piece of news that popped us up to 476. Stock has retraced about 50% of that move, but more notably, has been unable to pop and hold and recapture above that VWAP. That's what we want to see for an intraday trade here. The catalyst, American Battery Technology Company wins appeal and has the U.S. Department of Energy grant reinstated for $115 million. Project for commercial scale critical mineral lithium refinery. I should probably read into this a little bit more, but it sounds like they're getting a grant back here for $115 million. That's causing the stock to move higher by just shy of 30%. A quick peek at the short interest on this, 16.89% with 4.14 days to cover. And that short interest actually looks like it came in a little bit. I don't know if people were anticipating this, so I can't really speak to that. There is short interest here that you should pay attention to. Maybe it's not, quote, high by our metrics, but I think that this could impact the stock on a day with a catalyst. We'll see. Float on this, 132 million, super thick compared to what we normally are trading. It's traded 25 million shares already today. What do you got?
So on Friday, there was another one that had a similar setup like this, where it kind of formed a symmetrical triangle and the price action was compressing. And the thing that I said was, whichever direction this chooses to go out of this symmetrical triangle, I think that's the direction we go for the rest of the morning, at least, maybe the entire day. That's what happened. It immediately dropped out of the triangle, and it never I don't believe it ever recaptured it, at least not in the morning. So I think that's what we're going to want to watch for here. Whichever direction it breaks out of this price action, the symmetrical price action, that could be the direction it goes for the morning, if not the whole day.
Okay. I just freehand drew that on here, 13. I hope I got it somewhat right.
That's close enough.
Close enough. That's all I needed to hear. Okay, that's ABAT. I think there was another one here. Yeah, TNGX, Tango Therapeutics. Tango Therapeutics shares are trading higher after the company announced initial data from its ongoing phase 1 and 2 study of one of its drugs that I'm not going to butcher. This is a pancreatic cancer drug, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that, make sure I'm not screwing that up with another one. Yep, pancreatic cancer treatment here. Stock is up 50% on the back of this. Not surprised. Definitely have high short interest on this one. 22.28% of the float shorted, 10 days to cover. It is high on both metrics here. Maybe we see a little bit of a squeeze action on this. Float also thick on this one, 142.769 million shares. On average, it trades 3.35. Today, it's already traded 3. So this one might go higher here. Kathy, Tango Therapeutics, have you, maybe you've traded this before, but have we talked about this one before in terms of the treatment? And for those of you that like laughing at my misfortune, I'll give you a shot here. Vopimetastat is, I believe, the name of the drug. Vopimetastat. Maybe I'm totally butchering that or putting a little Chicago hot sauce accent on it. 13, what do you think here for TGNX? Excuse me, I already screwed up the ticker. TNGX.
I guess part of me is wondering why announce this information now. It's interesting that they just announced that they had inducement grants on Friday. They're talking about initial data from an ongoing study, which is great if there's like something material to report, but usually there's a reason for that in my mind. Why cause the stock to run now unless you're trying to raise cash? And it's just funny to me because I don't think they really need to do that yet. They seem to have a pretty good cash run right now, so it's a little bit concerning to me why they would feel the need to release this information unless there's something it's actually material that they do. I'm having a hard time with the reason behind it, because usually when you see something like this and you go and look at their finances, you're like, oh, okay, well, this company is really struggling. It's it doesn't have a great cash position. It's obviously got no revenue, as many biotechs do. But there's usually a reason that goes along with announcing this information and causing the stock to do this. I'm a little concerned about the reason behind this announcement, and maybe it's completely unfounded. But I think I'd be a little bit skeptical of what's happening here with this one today. Let me look at the chart a little more closely. Does that kind of make sense to you? Like they've got a good cash position, and it's not even like a final result of a phase 1 and 2 study. This is just initial data. So just kind of weird to me in that sense. But it's struggling to recapture VWAP right now. Maybe if it recaptures VWAP and can get back above 31, this climbs up to about 32.25. There's a little bit of resistance in there because that was formerly support after the big impulse run. So I would think that maybe right in there around 32.25, there's going to be some resistance if it manages to recapture VWAP.
Okay. All right, good stuff there. TNGX. We'll see if we get a trade here on this. Canap says, 13, I agree. Biotech caused me a lot of acidity in the past. So biotech stocks, when I first got into this, I was mesmerized. I didn't know anything about drug discovery, phase trials, IND submission, none of the stuff that we hear about in biotechs. I started to watch some of these catalysts and kind of learn how to trade them. But man, oh man, this did a number on my heart. Just a number. You can wake up your biotech stock down 40%, and it's like, that's a gut check right there for you on whether or not your risk is totally aligned. On the flip side, you could wake up your biotech stock up 60% because of really good data. So that's just kind of goes with the territory here on these. It makes having stops more difficult. I don't want to say useless, but I want to say more difficult because a number of times you can just go right through it. You could have a stop out there and it doesn't matter because you gapped right through it, something like that. So.
And I just looked up to see if they had any upcoming conferences that they're attending, because usually that can also be a catalyst for these biotechs. It doesn't look like they have anything upcoming. All the stuff they went to was in the first quarter this year.
Okay. Okay. Koru here. This Jay, you were pounding the table on this. This was the direction bull ETF that was getting smoked on Friday. That's having a little bit of a bounce back here today. And then I saw in the chat here, one of you said, yeah, Marcus, Amazon and Corning have an announcement too. Let's check. GLW is going to be Corning. That's up nearly 9%. This actually has a fair value gap on this chart. I'll draw it here for you folks in a sec. Corning shares are trading higher after Amazon announced that it entered into an agreement with the company to supply the optical fiber, cable, and connectivity solutions that power the digital retailers' expanding data center infrastructure across the U.S. The investment will create 1,000 new jobs and at the company's manufacturing facilities. So GLW is moving here. We might as well check in on Amazon. We can break down both charts if you want. Amazon having an all right pre-market, but doesn't look like it is responding quite the same way that Corning is here. Real quick, just kind of looking at this chart, we definitely have a fair value gap that was created by the impulse move, which means that the gap is substantial, and it ends at this candle right here. So very, very notable. The top end of the wide fair value gap is in line with the VWAP.
If you look at a daily, I would put a line at 200, and then you can cycle up to the weekly and then up to the monthly and kind of see just how important 200 is for this to close over. We've never had a monthly close over this. We've been been trading over it 2 months in a row over 200, but never closed above it. So
daily,
that'd be interesting.
Weekly, monthly on that cycle. And indeed, I probably was zoomed out a little too much to make that effective. But here's what 13 is talking about. Those wicks, yep, 0. Monthly closes above that, 0. Weekly closes above that level. And it looks like 4 closes above that level on the daily.
So Ken, I don't think this is necessarily old news. I understand what you're saying, because we've traded GLW before, and they've had some other big news before with like Google and Meta, and trying to put fiber optic cables around the world. But I think this is a little bit newer because this represents an expansion of their fiber optic industry growth, and that's and also the partnership with Amazon, which to me this speaks more to their industry, their business expanding and having help from one of the Mag 7. I think this is a little bit newer information. This is great information for them, for their growth, and I think this is where we want to see the price climb over and hold above 200, going forward off this news, because I think we're going to continue to see GLW's, the demand for fiber optic cables continue to grow, especially if we're going to be interlinking data centers around the nation and the world. So I don't necessarily think this is old in that sense, but I understand what you're saying, because we've talked about GLW and all the prospects they have about connecting data centers around the world.
And don't forget, if the data center story morphs into an orbital data center story, that's still going to be good for Corning, because their components are still going to be used.
Yeah. Man, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm just trying to think ahead. It's space next week. What do you want me to say?
Well, I was just thinking, well, that'd be a long cable in space, but no, they won't lay a cable in space, but it could be maybe another like a lunar-based play, and I've been trying to build a watch list with that as well, but we can get to that another time.
I would imagine they would use cables in those in those orbital data centers as well. Yes. Okay, real quick here, the story that is, the stock that is connected to the other end of the story is Amazon. This is interesting to me because we dipped beneath the 50-day moving average with that terrible candle on Friday, and it actually looked like Amazon had some more downside here, maybe 240 and then 232 where the 200-day is. But with this, now this is up 1.23% here. Maybe we can recapture 252, which is where we have the 50-day moving average. 13, I'm going to step away for just 1 sec here, but I'm going to have you take a look at the Amazon chart. And you know what else? I'm actually going to extend this sideways area. We often do that if it looks like we're going to come back into it. Here's your daily chart. I'll be right back.
Okay. So I think that's right. We are going to probably see some more weakness here. I do like the 240 area. That might be a spot where we do see the price action try to turn around. But I think it bodes well for us to at least point out some other levels of the downside in case 240 doesn't hold, because I'm seeing some, there's some reason to believe that it might not. If that's the case, I think that we could see prints down to 225, maybe as low as 215, 215. I'm not completely convinced we'll see it that low yet. But if we are going to point out some levels of support, 240 is going to be a standout one for me. Beneath that, 230 and 225. Those all three look like an area where the price might end up finding some bottoming action. And I'd be keeping an eye on that if the price is not able to hold above 240. That's certainly what I would think about. Remember, one day isn't a trend. Exactly. But yeah, so that's my thought here on Amazon. Those are some levels. I think, Izzy, you were asking for some levels, and that's kind of what I'm just looking at here for now. I like 225, 230 as potentially bottoming areas. Wolf is up 10%. Collab with GE Aerospace. Fantastic. Let me take a look at that. Wait for Ryan to get back. Wolf speed. 11% right now. That's looking like that could try and push higher.
Which one?
This is Wolf Speed.
WOLF.
Yep, this is the O. It's coming down to VWAP. That looks like a support area. That would be where I would expect the price to find support. If it doesn't find it there, it looks to me like we might come back into where that impulse move started around 58.60.
Okay.
What do I think? Let's see. NBTS shrugs off dilution. Yeah, that's right. They did just recently do like some kind of capital raise, I believe, didn't they? That's NBTS,
Navitas.
And then Dennis was asking what I thought of Meta. I'm not a fan of Meta, but I will give you my honest opinion on what I think the stock is doing and the price action. I think one of the things that we were talking about with this is how this could come down to 520. That was my price target of when I think earlier this maybe a couple months ago, we did come down. Maybe that was earlier than that. We did end up coming down to that 520. I still think that we could end up coming down to 520 again. It just looks like we're headed in that direction. There is a trend line that has been providing support ever since we bounced off 520 back in March. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now, but we can't seem to get back above the 20-month SMA. That's, I think, the big resistance level to watch for here. And if I was going to be bullish on Meta, I would want to see a recapture of and hold above that 20-month SMA first. You can see that back in February, that was the last month we traded above it. Very next month, March, we opened beneath it and started closing beneath it despite attempts to recapture it. We've been trying to recapture it. We tried in April as well. That didn't work. So I think that 20-month SMA is what I'd be keeping an eye on if I was going to be bullish on Meta. I'd want to see that recaptured first.
Okay. All right, good stuff there on Meta. We've got less than 2 minutes. Let's do BBAI. There was a lot of interest about that here this morning. Here's what BBAI looks like intraday. Not a whole lot going on. Here's what it looks like on the daily. And 13, the last time we talked about this, I think you and I talked about 450 as being a real key spot, especially in this recent sideways area that we need to break over. The last time that we broke over this, we went to the 200, but we didn't have the strength to get above that. Maybe we do now. And then furthermore, once we're able to clear this area out, we've got a trend line that actually might serve as a pretty decent target. As far as the short interest here, BBAI, it's high, 26%, 26.23%, 2.97 days to cover. No catalyst here today. You got any thoughts on BBAI?
I have a trend line that I've had on here for a little while. You can start it from the February 2025 high and just draw it through the very next wick that you see, which is July of 2020. Well, yeah, I guess you had it a little bit high. I wasn't using October's. I was using July's, since that's the very next high that shows up.
Gotcha. Okay, so you cut this one off then.
Right. So and when you look at a monthly, you can see that every month we've tried to get above this trend line since that it was established from those two points. So we opened this month above it, and now we're beneath it. So I think this is where I would want to see some closes above this trend line first. Oh, hey, there we are. Me rambling.
We are open.
That's all right. So let's see here. Out of the gate, we've got SUNE trying to push up. That's coming up to that 325 area I was talking about earlier. Just remember to be careful with this one. This is the merger. OCC, that's the cable one, losing VWAP. It looked like they had recaptured it just before we opened, but then the candle just before the bell brought us back down beneath it, and here we are coming down to test the lows of after that impulse move from the pre-market.
Marvell, first move here is higher. That's on the back of S&P inclusion. That's MRVL.
All right, so there's ABAT. That's falling out. So this is also the heavier one. So this might be the direction it goes this morning here. Losing the 65 EMA in the process. Lots of sellers stacking up above this position. So if it does manage to recapture the 65 EMA, there's a lot of sellers to get through. It would have to have significant volume to get back above here. So that's something to watch for there.
Lots of NVIDIA calls. There are some puts, so just lots of NVIDIA option contracts, but I'm seeing them as a majority of calls. Also seeing some Marvell and Apple calls get bought right out of the open here. Market is up near the highs here. The pre-market highs looks like 745 test coming. S&P futures also looking like they're trying to push higher.
We did come down to as low as 733 in the after hours on Friday. So we're coming back up to a former previous all-time high, previous all-time high here of 743.91. So we'll just say if we start closing over 744, could continue to see some more upside. Next big area of resistance, in my opinion, here is going to be about 748, just ahead of another previous all-time high of 749.53.
And Apple here, this is straight up out of the gate. Apple and Netflix, although Netflix is pairing, GS also straight up out of the gate here today.
Yeah, none of these movers this morning are going up out of the gate here. They're all down.
Nope. And also, by the way, GLW, which we talked about, this plunge. Let me redraw the gap on this other chart here. We are about midway through the fair value gap here. Let me actually draw this real quick. Oop. Here we go on GLW, 187. We'll see if we get
oil up on renewed conflict between Israel, Iran, and the U.S. Yep. Some of these are starting to bounce. Wolf is finding support at the 65 and 200 EMAs on the 5-minute. Still needs to recapture VWAP. Looks like Soon is trying to hold above its VWAP right now. It came down close to testing it. Large seller on the way at 3 and 310.
You said on Soon that you had a large seller there. Okay, we'll see.
At 3 and 310. Big seller at 310.
Okay. Daniel mentioning NextR. That was one from the movers, although I don't think we ended up covering that one at all. Here is NEXR. Ooh, possible 2-break here on NEXR.
Marvell actually up out of the gate here.
Lion.
Looking for
where's Lion?
It's trying to get over 294 right now. That looks like the next big resistance area. If you look back, on Friday, that was a support and resistance area in the regular session. So I think climbing over 294, that's going to give us continued upside.
S&P pulling back now. This is what we were waiting for. SPY is actually beneath the VWAP. S&P futures still above its pivot and above its VWAP. That has some more downside. We'll see.
Soon hitting the seller at 310. We'll see if the volume is going to be enough to push through them. It looks like they're hitting it kind of hard here. There it goes. 325 resistance, as I was mentioning from when we were looking at this. So we're coming up to that pretty quick here.
Daniel, did I buy the tech dip on Friday? No, I did not buy it before the weekend. No, I did not. That actually really worked for the Marvell buyers, though, with the S&P inclusion that we got.
If you're trading Soon, just make sure you've got your stop or some kind of trailing stop or something in case this comes back in. Did get through that 310. It's starting to stack up again and push back down. But we aren't losing 3 quite yet here. If we hold 3, this could push higher.
Okay, we'll see there on soon.
Yep.
Ondas pulled back. Velo's pulling back.
Hitting 320 now. That's stellar.
Here's INTC. That moved in the pre-market here. This actually might be at a bounce spot.
ABAT just absolutely hammered. So that's, I mean, the direction it shows is the direction it goes. So there it is.
That actually rhymes quite nicely.
And if it gives everything back, then I could see this, finding support down around 325. This is ABAT, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I got on screen.
And trying to trade back up. Well, I'm only saying that because I know that I just talked about SUNE, and it's in the same price range of action. So let's see what happens down at 325 with ABAT. Maybe get support down there.
Joe, I'm going long USO. Okay. Apple looks like 315 was your resistance area there on that impulse move higher. SPY looks like it is so far trying maybe to bounce. We'll see. No indications yet from the signal, from the indicator. No signals from the indicator. I always screw that up.
Well, SPY looking a little weak now here. Haven't really had a green candle out of the open yet, although this current one is trying.
It's trying, but to your point, it hasn't closed that way yet, 13.
Yep. Okay, so the other two movers we looked at, OCC and GMHS, they're trying to put get a bit of recovery in here, so you can keep an eye on those if you like. Soon losing 3, so the whole thought of keeping a stop or a trailing stop on here, that might have stopped you out, but at least it's protecting your capital here, because this is what we don't want to get caught up in.
Lassie, this is one from last week. Looks like this is trying higher here above 350. Lion also mentioning Lilly. That continues to outperform. So Lilly dipped from its pre-market highs. It looks like it might be trying to go back to that. NRIX, several folks are mentioning Kathy on this one, Webcoin on this one, maybe coming back to its VWAP here. This is trading higher if the company announced a global collaboration with Roche to develop commercialized one of its drugs.
So I'm looking at Marvell because I think that we are going to get some pretty good price action out of this today. I think we could be at a support area because we did get a pop and drop out of the gate here. If this continues lower, the areas that I like for support with this one are going to be 280 and I would say 278. If those don't hold, 272.
280. We had a front row seat for that support last week. We'll see if that shows up again. Marionette with authority. Marvell is not going to get over 290 anytime soon. We now have the match with Tim is on hold. We now have Marionette and Lion stepping into the cage match. Cha-ching, 50 cents on Soon for Jim.
Nice. Well, that's good look. That's a good look for Soon. Both times it came down here to the VWAP. We've got buyers stepping in. That's a good sign. Need to get over this 320 though. There's that seller stacked up right there. There's a lot of other sellers right beneath it. If we get through 320, I think we're going to see that pre-market high again. AI with a nice reversal. It's trying to clear VWAP again.
Okay. And you know what? Yeah, this basically just held that pre-market area. And obviously that means it held Friday's low. GLW still not putting in any much of a bounce at all. Let me keep rolling. Go ahead.
LASE 380 is a resistance area.
Here's LASE.
Yeah.
Man, Pro's nice and snappy this morning.
If you back out a bit, you can and look to the left. You can see how 380 kind of lines up with a series of attempts to climb over it.
Oh yeah.
And the times that it does, it uses that support, and when it loses that support, it back tests it as resistance and goes lower. So 380, big spot that we need to get over here today if we're going to go higher.
Market continuing to pull. It looked like the SPY was kind of stopping there, but now new lows on the SPY. It is worth mentioning here, S&P futures still above its VWAP, so a pullback down to the VWAP would still be somewhat normal here. No signals from my indicator on SPY upside trades, actually, or downside at this point.
Getting a little bit of a turnaround here. Nothing's, determined here for sure with ABAC yet, but they did get a bit of a bounce off the 336 area or 335, whichever, I guess we'll call it 335. About 10 cents higher than where I was looking for this to bounce, but we'll see if it can climb back over the 200 EMA. That's the current resistance it's facing.
Several of you folks are talking about FRSX. This popped to 350 in the pre-market. This is Foresight Autonomous. Came all the way back in, but now it's curling and might take out the VWAP there. Jay's asking, what do you guys think of the SpaceX IPO? Junior and Sammy at T3 don't like it. That's not an uncommon opinion. They actually had a guy on CNBC this morning that said he didn't like it. They had a couple of guys last week. They said they didn't like it. I'm not participating in the IPO. I would be interested in trading it, but honestly, I'd rather wait out some of the volatility. I think it might kind of come lower and put in a bottom before it rips for real. But we'll see. With it being highly anticipated, Jay, I really think this could go either way. What are your thoughts on it? Do you like it?
I've been telling everybody that's asked me about SpaceX IPO one thing. I intend to own SpaceX, but I don't plan to participate in the IPO.
In the IPO. That makes sense to me. GLW, maybe we're getting a bounce now finally.
Marvell knocking on the door of 290.
Uh-oh.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
GLW back to 188.
Just tapped 290 briefly there.
Marvell tapping 290. Let's see if we can get above it.
Soon, OCC sideways. GMS trying to turn around here. Maybe this starts trading better if it can get back over 150.
Another 290 recapture on Marvell. I was going to say, is that Von Rivera says lion for the win? Is that a first round knockout right there?
Oh, be nice.
I'm saying it. I'm saying it with love. The fact that you guys are making calls and going back and forth is what's important.
That's why we have a market, folks.
That is exactly why we have a market. Speaking of the market, that is trying to bounce again. S&P futures did not hit VWAP. Also, no indicator or on the no signal on the indicator. How many times am I going to mess that up?
Buzz Lightyear, that's one of the things that we've had a lot of discussion about with regard to what's going to happen with SpaceX, and is the S&P 500 just going to immediately include them. LASE, by the way, about to hit 280. I think that rejection of by the S&P 500 is good. Not so much for SpaceX, but I think for the market in general. You do have the NASDAQ 100 and 300 that's going to allow them, but I think we're going to get a much more traditional and less volatile inclusion with the S&P 500 when it comes to SpaceX. So that's going to happen probably much later down the line, probably in a year.
Good morning, Corey. It's great to see you again. LASE, this is going for that 380. GLW did recapture 190. So far, that fair value gap working.
Sir, it did hit 380 exactly. LASE.
Okay, my apologies.
All right. So soon continues to hold above VWAP. Volume is still, fading here. So still trying to be careful with this. But if this current candle manages to hold above VWAP and can climb back over 3 afterwards, I think this might still go on to hit that pre-market high, but got to have some better volume here if we're going to do that.
INFQ, that had put buying here. That was actually lower. I know a lot of those quantum names were up here in the pre-market. Rigetti almost back to that 2150 area. INHD being mentioned by WIS, also on the scanner. Big pop. This is going to Yeah, this is halted. Excuse me, I'm a little bit late here. Halted 204 to the upside. INHD was halted at 944.32. So we're looking at 949.32 is the resumption time for INHD. GLW on its bounce, finding some resistance here at VWAP as anticipated. BBAI calls, 350 calls. Not very big, but they're there. FRSX, sorry, 13, which got mentioned here. This did actually tap the VWAP, but can't get above it yet.
BBAI still, it's trying to climb over that 430, 435 area. That's been the consolidation it's been dealing with so far this morning. We start getting back above that. I think we could see 440. That's where the next resistance area I'm looking at is.
BBAI's chart, not to bring more drama to the stream, but BBAI's chart intraday looks a lot like Palantir, right? So it had its nice little step up, pull out of the open, right back. I know BBAI often gets compared to Palantir. Here's what the Palantir chart looks like. Very similar price action.
I kind of like BBAI's I kind of like BBAI's daily chart better than Palantir's, but I think that's just basically because there's a valuation consideration here.
Broadcom looks like this tried to pop above 400. Can't hold above it yet, though.
For Palantir, 130 is a big support area that needs to hold. Otherwise, I think it could go on to test 115, 110. Do I see a base for NASDAQ or NDAQ? Let me look here.
Joe, I absolutely love the commentary here. Joe, maybe you're right here. Maybe we should wait till the end of the day here. Joe saying Marvell barely got back above 290, so I'd say a 2-1 split decision for Lion. Marionette finished strong like Rocky. Oh, I love it, guys. I love it.
I could see NASDAQ, NDAQ. I could see a base forming around 82 to 84, somewhere in there. That's where I kind of see like a support note in that range. I'm in this one, and this is one that I'm adding to on weakness. I was adding in February. Was adding recently when we lost to 200. So got a plan for this one. Just it's a longer term plan, but if it comes into those prices, that's where I'll be adding.
Oh, and Velo, by the way, I know we've been kind of talking about this one. Here's what I like. Look at this on Velo. We basically came back into this trend line again, and I have it at 1550. If we go back to the daily, this was the one that we started at the beginning of the year and ran it through some of the highs. We'd actually broken out of this earlier this year, but it appears as if we're using this as support. Velo here might be trying to go higher. And then this kind of ties back to Nikhil's question here. Ryan in 13, thoughts on Rocket Lab, chance of any play for this week? I think a lot of the space names have chances for plays here. And I actually think you might get it in both directions. It might be one of these where you get pops and drops. You get volatility around that IPO.
Yeah, and for Rocket Lab, I would like to see this recapture 120. I think we're kind of at a little bit of a resistance area right now, but the next one is 120, and then you have the 20-day SMA at 128. That's going to be the next resistance area above that.
Zach saying Velo 15 was always a good entry. I agree with that. 13, we talked about live on here. We talked about Velo having a reload spot if it comes back into 15. Looks pretty good on that. 1511 was the actual dead low print, by the way.
LASE, that has printed over 380, went as high as 387, still not able to close above it. So that continues to be the resistance area this morning. We start closing, seeing some 5-minute candles close over this. I think that's going to give us a lift higher. And if we do get that, 425, I think 420 to 425, I think is where I'd be looking at the next area for resistance.
And also here, that SPY bounce that didn't send any signals from the indicator. Yeah, that's rolled back over here. One of the reasons why I always watch SPY in conjunction with the S&P futures, because S&P futures saying that we likely need to come into 74.28 for a test of the VWAP there. SPY might not be ready to go until we do that. We'll see. You guys are mentioning now. Now up 1.7%. This is a little bit of a dip and then a bump.
LASC over 380 now. Now it's using it as support. We'll see if that ends up being the case here, because we did get that last candle close over 380.
Rivian calls going off. Rivian went higher. Another dip and move higher. BM&R, 20 calls going off. That's actually higher here today too.
The big moves probably might have, Joe, but I still think that just all the interest around SpaceX and people might not be able to get SpaceX right away, or they're not going to wait. They want to play some of the other names into that lead up to the IPO. I still think we could see a lift in the space names this week.
And also, don't forget, regarding the SpaceX IPO, I know that they've allocated more shares for retail. I like that. I think it's great. But please understand that just because they allocated more shares doesn't mean everyone's going to be able to get this. Some of you folks might not even be allowed to participate in the IPO because you don't have a relationship or a balance with the broker. Ultimately, they're going to decide that. So, I know there's going to be more shares here. I'm still skeptical on how many people are going to get those shares. I know it's almost like a lottery ticket.
And I have to think some of those major holders are going to want to sell out of the gate too. The ones that aren't subject to sales
lockup. Yeah.
All right, so soon we did briefly dip beneath the VWAP, are still back above it now, trying to re-enter $3. This has just kind of been in a sideways channel so far since we hit that pre-market high.
Lav saying, I heard on Bloomberg that if you're a day trader, they aren't giving you any. Yeah, I would imagine if they think that you're just going to flip this, if they have any indication, like a previous history of letting you participate in IPOs where you sell them on IPO day because you're not part of the lockup, I would imagine you'd probably be restricted. But you have to have an account greater than 100K. That makes sense to me too. Jay, Monday trivia. What sport franchise play hit a new high today? Is that Madison Square Garden? Don't they have a ticker? MSG, is that what it is? Let's see. Madison Square Garden Entertainment. Is this it, Jay? Yep. How about that? I guessed Jay's trivia right on the first attempt.
Well done. INFQ recovering everything it gave out of the open here. Looking for that 1550 area where it's been getting, knocking its head up on all morning, it seems.
Jay, I know you weren't here for my opener. You were down the dial, but my opener here today was, if you ever thought 6 figures is too much to see an NBA game, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I'm hearing courtside or really good tickets for the Knick game at Madison Square Garden tonight. 100K per ticket. 100K.
Marcus, have a great rest of your morning, man. We'll see you later.
Have a good day. Lots of Tesla calls just now.
So another one that I've been talking about and building a position in again. Dollar General is having a good morning, coming up to the highs of Friday, and also the day before, where it was experiencing some consolidation in the pre-market. There's also a lot of other consolidation in the pre-market in prior days too. So we're coming up to quite a resistance area in Dollar General, which I'd love for this price to climb back over. This is something I've been keeping an eye on here. And with the consumer names being down so much, this is one of the ones I wanted to get back into. So that's what I've been doing.
It's good stuff on Dollar General.
Yeah.
We talked about wanting this to really kind of defend 100. Yep. So far, so good.
Yep. Yeah, this is giving me my Murdoch moment.
Yeah, and Dr. Manred, they talked about this right before the series started. They were saying that looking ahead on some of the third-party seating, that the average price to see a game in Madison Square Garden in New York was about equal to the average price of a home in Oklahoma City. This was back when the Spurs were playing OKC. Just eye-popping numbers. Anyway. Oh, Cerberus calls? Cerberus. Interesting. So that held 200 on the Friday sell-off. Okay, here's a question for the group. How many people think Cerberus's near-term bottom is in at 200?
I'll give you an answer in just a second.
Now, P.S. Cawthorn says Fidelity's SpaceX IPO minimum account balance is 2,000, not 100K like some others. Let me ask you, do they have anything else like in their or can you, as long as your account is 2K or more, you can apply for that? Because I know at TD that is not the case, or I should say Schwab, that is not the case. That's interesting. I wonder how many of those people get shares, or if they just get one.
Vaughn, I haven't really decided that yet. It's probably going to be, and I know it might be a wide range percentage, but it's probably going to be anywhere between 1% and 5%. Long term.
Yeah, when I get there, I don't think I would exceed 5%. 13. I think I'm with you. I think given, I mean, don't shoot me if I go to 6% eventually, just because it's an expensive stock and the math just kind of works out that way. But I would agree with you. I would not make this like an oversized, this is going to be my retirement. It either works or it doesn't type trade on that. By the way, S&P futures continue to roll over here. S&P futures actually look like a steady rollover on the 15-minute chart down towards the VWAP. SPY on the 1 minute looks a lot more volatile, although here we are repressing day lows on the SPY and the NASDAQ.
740 is going to be support. I also had another area of support that was like a previous all-time high. Look at the chart here in Pro. Yeah, so that 740 and 79 cent previous all-time high is about to come into play.
Jay, you'd have been proud of me. Yesterday, I played one of my better golf rounds in a long time. I made one double bogey. That's it. I'm normally 2 or 3 double bogeys that absolutely wrecked my score in an entire 18-hole round. Only one yesterday. Very happy about it.
Soon is you get these moves that take it underneath the VWAP, and then it turns around and just captures it right back up again. And it's still in this sideways channel. I mean, makes for some great short trades, short-term trades, but it's kind of annoying that this is the only direction we're getting. This basically this 60, 70 cent range just all morning.
S&P 500 futures, S&P futures, I should say, coming back in towards the VWAP, 74.33 right now.
A bat after that nasty drop out of the gate here, it went all the way down. Like we talked about how it went down to 335, right near where the whole move started. Trying to get back above VWAP, not able to do so yet. So there is some recovery here, but the volume is waning, and it still hasn't been able to recapture VWAP, which it has struggled with all morning. So I'm not sure we're going to see a whole lot of upside yet, if there is going to be any. MU heading south.
Hey, Yassine, dude, Yassine, I know it's early today, but given exactly what you said before the market even opened, you've earned your register ring here today. You said that you were going to be selling the pop.
Mm-hmm.
We opened up near the highs. We got a pull down, one pop, and now we're rolling over. So far, I think that call was good. Because as Buzz Lightyear is saying here, the market continues to slide.
Yep. But let's see here. We're still holding 41 for the moment. Let me look at a smaller time frame. We are trading underneath that that previous all-time high I mentioned a few moments ago. Now we're trying to recapture it.
Wiss says the PDG change killed us. Wiss, why do you think that? Because so they changed it on Thursday for some brokers. Friday we had that really bad day. Are you insinuating that a bunch of people got wiped out on day one, or day? I guess that would be day two.
Or is it just going to dry up the liquidity? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, profit takers. Expand on that a little bit, Wes. I'm curious as to what you mean there. By the way, S&P futures did roll over here to the VWAP, and it is holding so far. I haven't got any. 13. I haven't got any buy signal from the indicator. Yes, I did it right. I haven't got a buy signal from the indicator yet, but this would be a spot where the S&P should hold if we're going to bounce it all today.
So that previous all-time high has really been the spot. So far this entire morning. That was if you look at if you could go to a 5-minute chart and put a horizontal line at 740 and 79
sorry,
cents.
which stock? I'm sorry.
SPY.
Sorry. So I had S&P futures in my brain, but 740 lines up with exactly what I was talking about. I'm sorry about that. Okay, here horizontal. Horizontal line at 740.
740 and 79 cents. This is a previous all-time high. Now let's look to the left and look at the breakout price action, the back test as support. What
was the number again? I'm sorry I'm lagging so much, dude. I'm doing my best to keep up with you. What was the exact number?
740 and 79 cents.
79 cents. Okay. Here you go. And here we're backing out now.
Yeah. So you see this at 7:10 this morning. We had the breakout above it. We were hitting this earlier this morning at 6:30. Right, rejected, broke out. We've been trading above to the next previous all-time high of 743.91. Don't worry, I won't make you put that one up. But now here we are coming down off that previous all-time high to this current one that I just had you enter here of 740 and 79 cents. So this has to hold up if we're going to climb higher. Let's look at some of these other names here. So soon, still trying to hold above its VWAP, still in that sideways consolidation. OCC under its VWAP, trying to hit it. Still struggling with it though. GMHS, this thing continued to come in during the pre-market. It has not shown signs of recovery yet. But BBAI hit a high of 444. Might be reversing. I'm not sure. Volume's not looking great. It's starting to put in a series of upper shadows. I think this current candle is going to indicate to us whether or not it's going to come back in or press higher beyond 444.
Okay. Cost looking good. I like Costco. The pullback, when we talked about, Yassine, I don't think you were there, but when we talked about Costco on Happy Hour, when the stock was pulling back, I think we talked about liking this in the mid 800s. Yeah. So when we were pulling back here, we talked about maybe like right in here, mid to high 800s. That's going to deal with the recent low and like up to 900. We never actually got there. So what I like this. I still have mine. So obviously I want it to go higher here, but ultimately, like if we can't get probably back above 1,000, I would think that you're still probably looking at the same levels. I would probably put that 903, if I'm being exact, down to 848, that entire area in there. Buzz Lightyear, it's great to see you. By the way, Buzz Lightyear, funny story. I bought a blender, like a personal blender that is Buzz Lightyear themed, and I named the blender Buzz because it buzzes when you turn it on. So I think of you all the time. You have yourself a great day, buddy.
To Spinfinity and beyond.
To Spinfinity and beyond is so good. 13, it's the small things that amuse me, bro.
BMNR is, one that I'm also keeping an eye on here. This is, the crypto name that I am trading and I'm in right now. Whenever I look at this, I always go back to Bitcoin. I know that they're, BMNR is Ethereum. I get that, but I always look at Bitcoin because that's our risk on indicator. And it looks like, yesterday and today we've been recovering. Saturday and Friday looked like we were bottoming up. We held 60,000, and now we're trying to get back up to 65,000, which is a resistance area. So I would think that if we can't recapture the 65,000, we're headed right back towards 60K, maybe even a little bit lower. That's the price action I'm anticipating next.
Dr. Manred says you need to go out more. If the simple things amuse me, I mean, hey, you know what? I'm not even going to argue with you on that. Lion says he's waiting for Marvell to print him more money. So you mean the Pope is Catholic and the sun rises in the east? Okay, so everything's in order then.
It did come down to 281.44. Not exactly the 280 I was looking for, but much closer. And in this consolidation, all from the pre-market here this morning. So it is trying to climb back up right now. We'll see if it can get back over 290.
And S&P futures still trying to bounce off the VWAP here. Still don't have a signal on my indicator for a buy. Actually, just got one. I literally just got one as we were talking there. You know what? I'm going to try. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try a little bit here. Small position, SPY 0 DTE call 745. We'll see if we get a bounce here.
Soon is back up, trying to get over 3 again. And OCC close to VWAP. GMHS OCC. Pretty close to printing 124 or lower again.
Brian says the big boys are loading up on Cerberus now. So what do we think about 200 maybe being the near-term bottom there? You think that's any good at all? I'll tell you what, Cerberus is straight up from this today.
Yeah, from that drop down, I just noticed that too. And it, the daily chart does look really interesting here with Cerberus. 240 might be the next 240, 245. Yeah, no, 240 might be the next big resistance area for this. That was a bit of a shelf for it back in the end of May. And when we lost that, it struggled to recover. So I think 240, we want to see a recapture of that. BDAI, I think this was indicating to us that this is going to go lower now with that candle that we were talking about previously not looking so good. So support next is going to be about where this is, around 435. And if we lose that, we're coming back down to that consolidation in the pre-market.
Speaking of not looking too good, that S&P or that SPY bounce there looks like that might be mitigating. We basically couldn't clear out the VWAP. S&P futures are still holding above the VWAP, so maybe it's not done yet, but so far, no bueno. Well, SPY really needs to recapture 742.50. We're just beneath that right now. So you guys were talking about AI kind of getting a pop earlier. So NVIDIA was higher. This sold off. I am seeing NVIDIA calls get bought. I'm seeing Broadcom calls get bought. We had Apple on here earlier. So some of the AI names, Intel's on here. Some of the AI names definitely having some upside call buying here today. Intel flirting with the VWAP. Sorry, 13.
It's okay. LASE, 388 was the high. It's come back in and lost VWAP since then. Currently holding above some of this pre-market consolidation prior to the open here. So that's become a bit of a support area that's turned it around. It's recapturing. It's trying to recapture VWAP right now, and if it does, this next move up here to 380, that we're going to want to see some volume expansion because we could climb higher into the 4 handle if we do get it with that break over 380. And Marvell knocking on that 290 door again. It's certainly a resistance area.
Yeah, it sure is. I'll tell you what, I know you guys we're kind of having like a funsies battle here between chat members. The reality is that you guys are picking the right levels here very clearly. These are important intraday here. SPY still does not have the strength to go above its VWAP.
743.75. Let me look at that because that's you know what's interesting? So there's a previous all-time high of 743.91 that we need to get back above, and then you also have the 20-day SMA at 475.42 right now. So I think I would agree that if we do get back above that, that we could go on to recapture the 20-day SMA. So I do agree with that area you're talking about.
Okay.
That's where our previous all-time high is, and that was established on May 13th.
Okay. That's good stuff. Really quickly here, Joe saying, Ryan, your opinion, please. Okay. If you're asking for my opinion, then I'll give it to you. Otherwise, I try to reserve it. Whatever pessimism existed on Friday, why would it turn to optimism today? Also, if there was selling for the SpaceX IPO, why would they be buying today? Well, both of those reasons can be summed up with that's what makes the market, right? So, for example, I heard Stephanie Link on CNBC early today saying that Friday was a gift because some of these big AI names that she loves long term are on discount. There's definitely people that feel that way. As far as the optimism, you might even be able to throw some of the PDT restrictions being lifted in here. Some of these folks that weren't actively trading come back. Because of that PDT rule, they see a market that moved down on Friday. They think maybe we bounce here today. Guess what? If we don't, I can actually sell my position and not worry here today. That could be a reason why people would feel differently today. And then as far as the SpaceX IPO, remember, some people are trying to raise funds. So some of those holders might try and sell some of their shares, raising capital for the new IPO. Others that can't participate or simply don't want to participate or don't like it, like the reported 2 that Jay brought us this morning, might think, you know what, I would play other plays on the SpaceX halo effect or sympathy effect. Now, I don't know what the right answer is, Joe, but I could see all of those.
And a part of me, and this is something I'm just watching, part of me thinks that there's still more downside ahead. I already kind of had a measurement made here where we could have an 8% correction off the high, which would take us down to 700, which would actually be pretty good if I'm being frank. That'd be great for the market to have that little reset. But I'm just watching some of the price action. I want to see if we can hold 730. I think actually I was mentioning 732 in happy hour last week. So 732 is where I would think we would need to hold up here, but the fact that we are now trading for the second day underneath the 20-day SMA when we haven't done that since April 7th, I think is important. And I think if we aren't able to get back and recapture 750, we could see the resolution of that 8% correction.
Okay. That's a good roadmap there too.
Soon losing VWAP.
Soon that was. Sorry, I've been kind of locked in on SPY here. I'll tell you what, it's not working, but it doesn't look like it wants to give up yet. So
no, not quite yet, but this is a low float name, and it could just really quickly go down to the 65 EMA down around 232. Maybe it has a quick bounce back after that, but I'm not going to try and predict this price action. There's certain levels that it's it can't go down beneath because I think it's going to be finished. So we'll see what happens around 250. That's a current support I'm watching for underneath VWAP. GMHS, this really hasn't recovered yet, so not seeing that Chinese name idea happen quite yet, but think the next 10 or 15 minutes may tell us a different story. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that one. OCC, this is actually trying to climb back above the VWAP right now. Doesn't spend a whole lot of time above the VWAP since it lost it as a support level. So
yeah, this is trying. You're right.
If this does manage to recapture it, and there's actually a bit of a trend line here with these highs that we could draw. And
I see it.
Yeah, and this that last candle that just closed did close over this trend line, so this might be moving.
I'll tell you what, the way I drew my line, my trend line and the VWAP are pretty much lined up here.
Okay.
By the way, so this SPY move here, this is the SPY cannot get back through its VWAP. The S&P futures are doing its absolute best to hold it, but man, oh man, it's not feeling great. The zero DTE trade not working out. Frankly, this is going to need a move higher here soon, or just going to have to take the L on this one. Went in with a small amount just because didn't necessarily feel great about testing this bounce, but I want to have something on. I want to play something.
Look at this continued resistance at 290 in Marvell. It's like, who was saying that it's not going above 290? I apologize. I forgot.
Marionette said it wouldn't go above 290. Lion said it was going to 300.
It's like she went out there and drew the line in the sand herself. 290
it's a him. It's a him.
I'm sorry. 290 is basically where that's facing the most resistance right now. But I think if we do close over that, we're on our way. OCC continuing to climb.
By the way, Chris, I got the "you down with OCC" lyric joke there. That's from my generation, so I got that one.
OCC looking good. Got through 20. Coming up to the 21, 28 high.
Sorry, taking the loss on my zero DTE calls. Did not get through the VWAP. I'm going to wait. Not going to take any bigger of a loss. We'll see if we get another setup here today. 0 for 1 today on day trades, unfortunately. Damn.
This is looking good for OCC. That trend line break was
me.
The VWAP break was great. Yeah. I think it's OPP though.
Yeah, it is, but
okay.
We're doing what we can.
Okay. Yeah, 2130 looks like the next spot.
This was the right thing to play instead of the SPY. Look at that break there, right on that spot. And this right here, if I were in this one, I would be trimming right here at this resistance area.
Mm-hmm. If we get a breakthrough, the next resistance I see is going to be like $23. I think that would be another trimming area, if not profit taking. But if this does a breakthrough 23 and makes a new high higher than the pre-market, I think that's what you sell into.
SPY, good reaction is so far, but again, S&P futures still beneath VWAP. Oh, SPY,
yeah,
great bounce. Look at that. This is going to make me look like a moron, isn't it? Well, it's got to keep bouncing if that's going to happen. I'm sorry, 13. What were you saying?
I was just agreeing with Trey Blue. This pattern is one of the things I've been pointing out for a while. The Netflix head and shoulders. It's 81 looks like I'm sorry. Actually, we're kind of been testing this neckline right now.
Really quickly, 13. Sorry, I got to hand out some register rings. I'm sorry I was not on INHD for you guys. This is the mover winner of the day. What a move! Great job, any of you that were trading this. This was a great mention.
Yeah, I think what was the spot we were saying with Netflix? I think a lot of us were looking for 70.
Was it that low?
Yeah, 70, maybe $60. I guess there's even like a case to be made if it continues to go lower. There's a gap to fill from January 2024.
I think you're right on that 75.
So I'm looking at 70. So 70 is kind of, if we lose 75, I guess we'll say, because there is that low from March, but it's looking like we're going to be testing that pretty soon. Poet moving higher says crankbait.
Good to see you, crankbait.
Well, this is kind of interesting.
What is this Oh, this is just a penny stock. Never mind. I was like, how is this stock ripping? But then I realized it was a shady penny stock. So it is what it is.
Seems like you got a bit of a range here with Poet. 1150 support and I guess 1550 resistance. Kind of been back and forth, since mid-May. That's a nasty move that took us beneath the 20-day SMA.
How about the call? How about the call? My buddy shortened this. It initially called for 10, covered in the 13 handle.
And he's done with the short, right?
He's done. Yeah, he's not back in it. Okay. I'm still trying to bring him on. He'd be a great guy to bring on here as a guest.
Oh yeah, could talk about that trade too.
Oh God, Chicago Realtor. Oh man, do you think now is a good time to build a long-term position in Chipotle? I mean, man, I have, since Chipotle's recent pullback, just because I like the product and still go there, I have thought that it just hasn't been. I don't know what's changed recently that would make it a good spot.
Let's see here.
It just hasn't worked.
This ended up breaking down like it, thought it might.
I mean, look at this trend. Like, it just continues to trade down. To me, I want to own this just because I like the food, but I don't feel great about it. Chicago Realtor. Let's hear what 13 has to say about it.
Well, 28, I think, is your next support area. We did just get some support there recently, this month. If we lose that, I think you're kind of looking at a situation where every $4 down is going to be your major support area. So from 28, you have 24 and then 20. Those are the next three support areas to the downside that I see here in CMG. And I kind of think, based on this price action, they all may get hit. And that might take a little bit of time, like we're talking months, but that's what it looks like to me, until we can recapture 32.
Chris here says millennials having to pay back their loans is hurting Chipotle bad. Go to any Chipotle, look at the age range of the people aligned. I can say that when I go in there, there's definitely a lot of younger folks in there. But here's the one thing I would push back on that, Chris. Chipotle, at least, and I mean, maybe I'm not up with the younger crowd here, but it seems like Chipotle is actually one of the cheaper options for eating out versus some of its peers. And so I would actually, the way I would look at that is I would say Chipotle they could probably have more of that. I don't. Maybe you're right on that though.
I like where his idea is, because here's the thing: there's been a name that Felicia has told us about, that a lot of younger generation goes to, Dutch Bros. That has a monthly chart that I think I would be worried about, because when I look at this, there's this clear support from the 20-month SMA that was lost this year. This year, we have not been able to recapture that 20-month SMA despite trading over it. No recaptures. It continues to struggle. $60, clearly a resistance area in this name as well. I think that he's onto something about how these younger generations may be a little bit more pressed on their disposable income. I think that's an interesting point, and it's one of the reasons why I'm looking at Bros right now.
And you know what, Jay also saying, Ryan, look at Shaq, same deal. Okay, we saw it in DPZ, which is absolutely a budget pizza. You'd consider this a cheaper option.
Look at Ulta.
Sorry, I'm starting to lag here a little bit. We saw it in Wingstop. So just kind of goes back to what I think, who was it? Who was just saying that Buffalo by Bicycle, restaurants are tough right now.
Restaurants, and I think, just basically the things that the younger generation just buys in general. That's why I was looking at Ulta. Ulta's had an awful 2020, the second, quarter of the 2026 at least, but big drop in March. It's now down to the 50-month SMA, which it hasn't been since May of last year. I think that's a good point.
My friend's son spends so much money on DoorDash fees ordering McDonald's delivery.
Oh my God.
I can't even imagine, man. I can't even imagine. You know what? One of the things that we have talked about a number of times on Happy Hour regarding some of these like deliveries, like DoorDash and Uber Eats and stuff, it always seems to be the bottom end of the income spectrum that is ordering this the most. It's like they're wasting even more money on delivery. I don't know what the trade is on that. I don't know what the fix is for that, but man, I can't imagine. I don't like spending money on McDonald's, the food itself, let alone additional delivery fees. What's 13? Sorry.
Look at Dash.
Oh, you probably want that on a daily anyway.
Monthly.
Even better.
Yeah, there's Alta on a
wheel, dude.
on a daily. God, dude. Dash on a monthly looks awful. It looks like this is actually going to go lower. I think it's going to have a date sub with the underside of 145. Now let's explore another thought here, because this is all stuff that's food away from home. As if we were talking CPI report, this is all stuff that's like food away from home. Let's see how the supermarkets are doing. Are people actually going and buying and making food themselves more? That's something I'd be curious about. Maybe it's something with these cheaper names like Hormel and Campbell's. Maybe those start turning around because people are going to start having to go to Kroger.
Here's
Kroger?
A daily for Kroger.
Okay, so not really, following along with that theme, but it seems like that's doing a little bit better than some of these other ones.
It seems like it's putting in a bounce a little bit sooner. Dr. Van Red, can we stop talking about food? It's hard to concentrate.
I think this is definitely something that bears worth watching. It's a great idea. So let's look at it this way. The food away from home probably not working out so well, and the food at home might fare better.
So this is funny. Duty C is saying, actually, high-tech companies encourage their employees to order more takeout using apps and food deliveries. It's funny. One day there was a period here where we were all very busy here at Benzinga, and I was complaining that I didn't even have time to eat lunch. And my supervisor at the time said, you could always DoorDash it, because I was complaining I didn't have time to go out and grab something. So there's some truth to that. Home cooking is cheaper and better.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm old fashioned. It's healthier, it's better, it's cheaper, it's all of that.
BBAI came down to that pre-market consolidation, kind of bounced right off at 433. It's turning around and trying to climb back up towards the highs of the session. ABAT, that's also still trying to recover. Hasn't quite hit the VWAP yet, but hasn't broken down beneath the 200 again. So it's trying to recover. Volume's not great.
Okay.
OCC, that is still trying to push higher. It didn't lose its VWAP or anything. It might be flagging. We'll see if it can make another move that takes it over 2150 soon. That looks like it's trying to recover, and GMHS looks like that's trying to establish a bottom, but no guarantee that this one has yet.
Marvell bust through 290 up to a 293 handle. We'll see if we get that close above 300 on Marvell.
That was a big move through 290 as well.
Yeah, it was. SPY here, Gio, I saw your comment earlier. It does look like it's trying to go higher, but no bueno yet. I was just too early. I have a number of signals here, but today's chop has not made those trades any good. So I'm 0 for 1 on the day trades here today, but that's okay. Ondas coming back, Velo coming back, Tesla at the highs. Apple, we'll see what the Worldwide Developer Conference gives us here today. All right.
Real quick, LASE, that ended up going down to the pre-market consolidation, reverse recaptured VWAP. It is back up to 380 again now, trying to get above that price so it can move over into the forward handle. We'll see if that ends up happening, but you're going to have to do that without me, because as Ryan is trying to tell me, it's time for me to go.
Not even telling you and not saying that you need to go, but it is the end of our show. Any closing words for the group?
Hey, another wonderful morning here on a Monday with everybody. We found some movers. We traded a little bit. Wasn't as great as some of the past weeks we've had, but we did get a trade or two in. We'll see what the rest of the day gives us, but we'll be back here tomorrow finding more movers and trying to make some more money. So until then, have a good rest of your day, folks. Goodbye.
All right, 13, really good stuff. You guys did better than me today. That's great. We will be back at this again tomorrow. It's a T3 Tuesday tomorrow. For all you Knicks and Spurs fans, enjoy this evening. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.